Hi, Tile from Infidelity here. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting headphone. This is Sennheiser's new PXC 550 noise canceling wireless Bluetooth headphone. This is a $399 headphone. It's about $50 more than the Bose Quiet Comfort 35, and I'll be comparing these with the Bose Quiet Comfort 35 as I've found that it's really the best noise canceling headphone around, and it would be good to compare this headphone to that one. So this is the PXC 550. It's a fairly stylish headphone, but conservative looking. It's quite comfortable to wear. It's a little more cozy around the ears than the Quiet Comfort 35. But not much. I would say their comfort is close, but I would give the nod to the QC35 in that it's a little more roomy and a little less pressure and closed in feeling around the ears, but not much. It's pretty close comfort wise. Styling wise, I'd probably give the nod to the Sennheiser. It's a little cooler looking and more contemporary looking. The Bose, as you can see here, it's also available in black, but it's a little sort of plainer, more plasticky looking. Doesn't quite have the quality feel and of the materials. The Sennheiser always uses very good materials in their construction. The headphone's kind of unusual in that it turns on and off by twisting the ear cups. So in this position it's off, and in this position it turns on. There is no way to turn the power off and use the headphone passively unless it just runs out of power. So it has to absolutely run out of power, and then you can put the wire on it and it will run passively. But if it's not out of power, you can't turn it, the noise canceling off. Well, you can turn the noise canceling off, but you can't turn the electronics off. You can manually turn off the Bluetooth with this little switch here, and you can manually turn off the noise canceling with this little switch here. But the headphones remain in active mode, and the internal amplifiers are still working when the wire is on it, unless it actually runs out of power. Has a couple of cool features. As I said, the noise canceling, you can turn it on and off, and then there's a midway position that is adaptive, and it changes the amount of noise canceling with how much noise there is around you. I didn't find it particularly useful. I just left it on all the time, full on. There is an LED battery indicator over here. Let's see. It comes with a 4-foot cable that has a 90-degree angle on the phone end and a 2.5 millimeter tip ring sleeve on the headphone end, and it has a little 1-button remote and mic. So when you plug the headphones in, it doesn't use the internal mics on the headphone. It uses this control, although the volume control on the headphone still remains active when you're in wired mode. And this is an advantage over the Bose, because the Bose, when you use it in wired mode, does not have a microphone on the cable. So if you're in wired mode on the Bose, you can't use it as a headset for your telephone. So it has a little advantage there. Also, since we're on the accessories for a moment, it does come with this nice case. The headphones, of course, have to fold flat so that they turn off, and then they fit into the case like this in there, and there's also a little pocket for all the accessories. It's a very nice little package. I will make one comment though, because even on Sennheiser's video they show people folding the headphones up like this to put them in a pocket or a backpack, and the headphones will not turn off like this, because you have to have the headphones in this position to turn the power off, and then in this position if you want to carry it that way with the power off. So there's a little trick here. It's not necessarily obvious that that's the way you should do it. The headphone is controlled mostly by sweeping motions on the right ear cup. So this panel on this side has a touch sensitive panel, so you can turn the volume up like this and turn the volume down. Fast forward a track by swiping forward. You can go into fast forward mode by swiping forward and holding. You can tap it once to pause the music, and then tap it again to stop the music or to start the music. If you tap it twice, it goes into hear through mode, so you can hear the sound around you. For example, if the stewardess comes down the aisle and you can go like this, tap it twice, and then you can hear what's going on around you and talk to the stewardess or whatever. At any rate, lots of controls and features and functions on this. When you go into telephone conversation, you can tap it once to mute, I think, the conversation. You can tap and hold along when a phone call comes in to reject the phone call, or you can tap once to answer the phone call. There's ways to put the call on hold and answer a different phone call. So it's very fully featured in terms of your ability to control. There's also here a microphone array, which is right here. There's 3 microphones in here that form kind of a beaming pickup pattern, so that your voice is clear, but it doesn't pick up as much outside noise from for the receiving person to hear. So it's very fully featured and very easy to use once you get used to all the controls, although they're quite intuitive, and so I thought Sennheiser did a great job in that regard. The sound quality on these headphones, well, we'll start with the noise canceling. The noise canceling on these headphones is not quite as good as the Bose Quiet Comfort 35. The Quiet Comfort 35 gets about 28 dB broadband noise isolation, whereas this headphone gets you about 22 dB, so it's not as quite as good as the Bose, but it's quite good relative to other noise cancelers out there. The sound quality on a phone conversation is absolutely superb. There is an app that you can get with this headphone to install on your phone. It has a number of features on the app. You can play music that's on your phone through the app. You can play your title music through the app. The app has some EQ controls. It has a graphic equalizer and also sort of a parametric equalizer where you can change the shape of the line. And it has some things like reverb and a couple of other things. I think dynamic loudness control and a couple of other features on there that were fairly interesting, actually. One of the things that Sennheiser does in that app is there's a way to enhance the phone call conversation, and in that mode it kind of reduces some of the sharpness from the narrow band of a phone call in the upper mid range, and and adds a little reverb, and it actually supposedly makes it sound like the person is more in the room with you, is how they advertise it. And I have to say, it actually works pretty well. I was consistently pretty amazed at the clarity of the phone calls and how present that other person on the other line was. I used this headphone while I was driving my step van, which is kind of like a FedEx truck from Denver back to Montana, a very, very loud environment, and I was able to answer phone calls with no problem and talk very intelligibly with people on the other end of the line. They heard me clearly, so it's quite stunning that way. The sound characteristic for movies and music, this headphone is a little bit forward in the region from 600 to 3K and more forward and probably more right tonally than the Bose Quiet Comfort 35, which has a little bit more distant and kind of hollow sound. And so I find that this headphone is actually more neutral sounding, up to about 3K than the Bose. The bass response is not quite as tight as the Bose though, so this one has a little bit loosey-goosey in the bass. The problem with this headphone comes above 3.5K. Between 5 and 10K, these headphones are 3 to 5 dB too hot, and that is a region that's pretty dangerous in terms of creating listening fatigue and a piercing sound that can be annoying. Now, under normal listening conditions in a relatively quiet environment, I found that it was a fairly good quality sound, and the amount of forwardness to the sound was okay. I appreciated the sound under those kinds of conditions, although it did seem a little too bright to me with that extra energy up above 5 to 10K. The problem came in when I was using it in a loud environment like my truck, and in that case you do tend to raise the levels up a bit, and in that case, after a while, that 5 to 10K excess energy really started to be a little bit aggravating, and I had to switch to the Bose QC35, which, although it's not quite as even sounding and sounds a little more distant, in loud environments it was much less fatiguing than the Sennheiser QC or than the Sennheiser PXC 550. All in all, it's a very good headphone for people who spend. Well, I should add that. That the it's still attached to my phone, and it's turning on and off here. My phone's in another room. The Bluetooth range on this headphone is excellent. So I for movies and telephone, because it has this little bit of a forward characteristic, the speech intelligibility was just outstanding. But when it was when I was listening to music in loud environments, it just became annoying. So that's kind of a killer when it comes to an audio enthusiast, because in exactly the place where you want to be able to listen to music and you want to do so successfully, this thing is a little too bright and piercing sounding in the long run, which is unfortunate, because in so many other ways it's a terrific headphone with a great deal of control, a very interesting app that actually has useful features in it. On the downside of the app, once you set the EQ in the app, that EQ is not set in the headphones. It appears more like that EQ is happening through the app itself. And then when you switch to another app, let's say Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, that EQ is no longer there. There are some other features, the reverb, the dynamic loudness control is there and stays on the phone or on the headphones. And there's actually a button right here that allows you to toggle between speech and music, and I can't remember what the other one is, but there's a couple of different modes on here, none of which I thought were particularly good. I liked it flat with none of those features installed. At any rate, so I like the headphone if you are using it primarily for movies and telephone conversations where you think you're going to be on the headphones for long periods of time, where you're answering a lot of phone calls and stuff like that. This is really a better headphone in terms of the use paradigm and ergonomics than the Bose Quiet Comfort 35. But when it comes to straight up music listening in loud environments, I'd have to take that Quiet Comfort 35 pretty much every time. So no wall of fame for this, although I will recommend it, and it's as a product that we like, stuff we like, and with the caveat that it's really best for people who are using it as a headset and for movies as opposed to music, a lot of music. So, interesting headphone. I'm bummed that Sennheiser didn't crush Bose on this one, because I think they could have almost gotten there with this one. But it's certainly a harbinger of things to come with a fully featured app and a lot of controllability using a touch panel that makes it a more useful and ergonomic headphone. So, interesting headphone. Worth having a listen to, because it's an interesting tonal profile for speech and movies and so on and so forth, and actually listening. If it's quiet, it's okay if you like things a little bit on the brighter side, but in the long run, I'd go with the Bose Quiet Comfort 35. All right, we'll see you guys next time.